Light and consciousness. In this chapter of our podcast on science and spirituality, we will look at the relationship between light and consciousness. And we will continue to delve into this and other related topics. But first, let's start by unraveling the illusion of time and space. According to classical physics, time is absolute, that is, it exists independently of the observer. In other words, time is the same for all those who are observing or those who share the same reality. And this is the way we generally perceive it. It is an agreement that allows us to have an agenda and measure the pace of events. But is it really so? According to Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, the measurement of the passage of time depends on the reference system where the observer is located and on his state of motion. That is, different observers will measure different times between two causally connected events. So time is relative. There is no time independent of the observer, there is space-time as an integral continuum. For an observer moving closer and closer to the speed of light, about 300,000 kilometers per second, time becomes slower and slower. And at the speed of light, time is zero, it ceases to exist, so space too. For modern physics, light conducts energy and information and has a double nature, wave and particle. It travels as a wave and manifests as a particle. As we will see, the term travel is not entirely correct. Rather, we can say that it is a fluctuation in the cosmic vacuum, although it is not a vacuum but a full non-manifested energy and information fields that, when interacting with the consciousness of the observer, take a particular form. The photon. The photon is the carrier particle of all forms of electromagnetic radiation, including gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet light, visible light, infrared light, microwaves and radio waves, that is, all frequencies of the electromagnetic spectrum. From the perspective of a photon, the universe is nothing like what we experience, since neither time nor space exists for light. And yet, it is thanks to the information carried by photons that we can perceive and experience things, and time and space are created. But photon or particle of light, it is simply a human description. It is the point of view of the observer, and from this point of view things have shape and seem to move. But what the senses capture is only a part of this activity. The scant information recorded is also translated, interpreted and conceptualized in human language, which is why it is illusory in itself, or rather, relative. The physical world created by the senses is illusory, although it appears solid and durable. We perceive it determined, absolute, however, it is relative. The laws of physics are based on illusions. In interpretations. Although it has occupied a fundamental place in our culture and way of life, science does not serve to explain life or the universe in which we live. Although his explanations and demonstrations seem bombastic and without discussion, they are relative and subjective. There is nothing objective, because everything is relative to the observer. Even the complicated math. To understand life, to penetrate our essence and true identity, we must connect with the spirit that lives in us and in everything that surrounds us. Connect with the light of the living spirit. If you don't know how to find her, search your heart, she lives there. Going back to physics. So, what is light? We already saw. The light that we perceive is the movement of consciousness. Light doesn't really travel, what moves is consciousness. Information causes the movement of energy. However, it is also shown that photons move at a certain speed, and since they move at the speed of light, from this perspective the time they take to propagate between any 2 points in the universe is zero. From the point of view of light there is no movement. Once again, what moves is the consciousness of the observer. And this challenges our common sense and the reality that we perceive on a daily basis. We only come to perceive the limits of our physical possibilities. Our intellectual understanding is limited. At this point, assuming that what our senses tell us is an illusion, it is worth asking what is real in our physical world, given that the fundamental components of matter are more like clouds of possibilities than something concrete and solid. At the speed of light, time is equal to 0. And if time is 0, there is no oscillation or movement that we can measure. We cannot talk about speed or displacement. That is why the intercommunication speed in quantum entanglement is instantaneous, or what is the same, non-existent. In other words, light is everything, because light is consciousness. What we perceive separately is our individual consciousness, which is a part of the whole. A single light divided into infinite lights, illuminating and giving shape and movement to creation. This can be more easily understood if we accept that any creation of nature is a manifestation of an implicit order, of the same original and universal source. We only see the manifestation, separated from the rest, and the true essence goes unnoticed. This occurs because we depend on our physical senses and do not understand their function. This is how a limited and illusory physical reality is created, precisely because this information is fragmented, isolated by the senses, and there is also the interpretation that we make of this information. In any case, real or not real are just terms. The important thing is not to be confused, since the essence can never be apprehended through the senses or defined by concepts. What actually happens to the photon? Only the photon knows, and science can only try to measure their interactions and effects according to relative laws and conventions. This allows a description and operation in the physical world, but as we see, it is only a tiny part of the whole. And if time does not exist for light, and spacetime is unity, distance does not exist for light either, so it continues to be in that first star, or it continues to be in the sun at the time it hits the retina. In that instant your eyes and the sun are connected. You are connected with everything you look at. From the point of view of light, the universe is unity and therefore inseparable. It is time to accept that you are part of an intelligent universe, aware of itself and its creations. And you must also accept your individuality. Each one is an expression of that one consciousness, of that one light. The spirit is not something empty or virtual. It is not the God of religions. Consciousness is permanently creating and transforming the physical world, and the physical world, that is, people, objects, events, are the theater where life takes place and manifests itself. They are tools, instruments that serve the spirit to express its love, its creativity and its power. Accept that you are a spiritual being living a limited physical existence. But don't identify with that physical appearance. Take it as a gift, a responsibility to take it to the highest level of knowledge and happiness. You have to understand the essence of the physical world, the value of life on this earth, the fact that your life is interdependent with everything around you. Isolation is disease. Suffering is pain that is not transcended. Fear of living and indifference express selfishness. Greed is weakness. Anger and frustration are toxic. You don't live for yourself. Nothing lives by itself. Each creation, however insignificant it may seem, expresses the essence and spirit of its creator in its entirety. Knowledge is power. Your consciousness creates your reality. Thanks for following our videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us spread knowledge.